This is KCLA 3. We begin with breaking news.
And we continue to follow breaking news from El Dorado County, where the Caldor fire is exploding in size and forcing more and more people out of their homes right now. Live Copter 3 has been flying overhead, showing us this massive flames from this fire shooting up from the very thick forests that make up the foothills. We've got live team coverage for you of the fire, the evacuation orders, and the resources available for people who have to leave their homes right now. But let's start with the very latest on how the weather is impacting this fire and where it has spread already. These are live pictures from Live Copter 3, and Chief Meteorologist Mark Finan has been tracking this very closely. Mark?
And last night when we were talking about this fire, it was just outside of the town of Omo Ranch, down in the middle fork of the Cosumnes River, and it was just starting to show signs of becoming more active at this time last night. But then during the night last night, the fire really started to grow, and it got out of the canyon and it went through the town of Grizzly Flats, damaging a lot of homes, destroying a lot of homes. And then today it has been extending its reach to the north and to the east.
You can see where the Caldor fire went through this area. This building right here gone because of that fire. Some vehicles you can see burned up in the area, and a lot of spot fires still going on right now, things smoldering. We are right near the entrance of an elementary school. So as we turn to the side here, you'll see that's how we saw the entrance, the Walt Tyler Elementary School. The sign burned there.
One of the big concerns with this fire is what's called long-range spotting. And I know, Mark, you mentioned that a lot, but what exactly does that mean?
We often think about these fires as burning along just kind of a uniform front, but quite often what happens with a big fire like this is that you do get what we call long-range spotting. So these are pictures from Live Copter 3, and just look at how high these flames are, like this right in here, and see how those flames are leaping up into the air, like back in here? Well, those flames contain embers, and they can be an inch, maybe 2 inches in diameter. Look at how high those are leaping in. This is the pieces of the tree that are basically still on fire, and they're being carried up into the atmosphere a couple of thousand feet, and they can't cool off in time. By the time they land, they can start a fire downwind. And we have a good example of that from just within the last hour from Live Copter 3. So this is video we were showing you. Here's the fire, and it's tough to tell, but there is a lot of updraft going on up in here. But this is the main area of fire that we're looking at. And you see this long line of fire. But then as we scroll to the east along the fire, here's the edge of the fire. But then watch what happens over in here. We come to another area of fire. So what happened was you get a large ember coming off of this, it gets sent up into the atmosphere, it lands over here, and that's what we call a spot fire. That might be a half mile to as much as a mile away. That's a classic example, and that just happened this afternoon. It happens all over the place in big fires like this. It's been happening with the Dixie fire, and it's been happening today in El Dorado County. Back to you.
I want to introduce you to Virginia Shaw, and she just learned today that she lost her home. She's from Grizzly Flats. Virginia, we are so sorry for your loss.
That's okay. I mean, can't do anything about it. It's nature. I just wish we didn't lose everything. I mean, we lost everything.
Right now, the winds at least are pretty calm. It's just a light breeze here where we are. We're on Mormon Evergreen Trail. You mentioned Jenkinson Lake. We're as by road about 4 miles from Jenkinson Lake by road, but as the crow flies, maybe about a mile from the shore of Jenkinson Lake. And you can see some of the fire activity around us here, where fire came raging through here yesterday and now continues to burn here on the ground. We drove, I would say, probably about 3 or 4 more miles up the road and still encountered fire and finally had to turn around and come back.
Thank you for joining us at noon. We begin with breaking news. All of South Lake Tahoe has been evacuated due to the Caldor fire. And this is a look at the evacuation map. Here are the latest evacuations east of Pioneer Trail between Larch and El Tahoe to include the area of Heavenly Ski Resort.
Here you can see the traffic. This is all eastbound traffic heading off in that direction, where they've asked people to evacuate from South Lake Tahoe in an eastbound fashion on Highway 50.
I can tell you it is very strange to be on the other side of a story and to be packing up your home rather to evacuate. I have covered that so many times, and you always feel bad for the people who are in that situation. And I can tell you it's just really scary. And looking back at a house and not knowing if it's going to be there when you come back home is not a fun thing. And that's what all of these people are dealing with.
Governor Newsom walked through Camp Sacramento amazed that firefighters saved this historic area, but also expressed heartache for the losses surrounding an area that was part of his childhood.
This is my backyard. I mean, it's where my parents met. You know, my dad lives in a small gold mining town called Dutch Flat. I lived there for 45 years. I mean, everything about this is evocative of my past and my youth and everybody watching, I'm sure.
While praising the work of fire crews, I also asked the governor if he believes the federal government is doing enough to protect against these continuing catastrophic wildfires, given that a majority of California land is federally owned.
No, and that's not a cheap shot. It's not a hard criticism. It's a fact.
The growth of the Dixie Fire has absolutely been incredible. You may remember when we first covered this fire back in July, it was still two separate fires burning at about 150,000 acres. Look at it now, just at the hillside behind me, that huge plume of smoke. As you just mentioned, nearly 860,000 acres scorched.
We've had a lot of viewers asking us how they can help wildfire victims. There are a number of ways, and we have several listed on our website, kcra.com. You can scan this QR code for a complete list. It includes different charities that need volunteers, information about hosting victims through Airbnb, and donating to the Red Cross.
When the state says a business must close or stop selling alcohol or move its operations outdoors, how are those decisions being made?
Yeah, the answer to that is unclear. KCRA3 Investigates has been trying for weeks to better understand how this process works. KCRA3 Investigates emailed the California Department of Public Health. We asked for contact tracing data for these businesses. Simply put, we wanted to know to what degree are they contributing to the spread of COVID-19. The health department told us the records are not readily available and CDPH needs time to gather and review the requested records. That was back on December 16th. Since then, we've received email updates from the health department on January 7th and again on January 21st, letting us know that they are still in the process of locating and reviewing the records.
Do you have questions about the vaccine, the process, maybe the protection it offers?
We've assembled a team of doctors. You see them right here. They're answering your phone calls right now. So for the next hour, you can call them, and again, they will answer your question to the best of their abilities.
You know, Dr. Bashir, I think for many people, it's one thing to get an answer, but another thing to find out why. So let's walk our viewers why natural immunity, if you've already had COVID, is not the same as getting this double dose of the vaccine.
So first of all, we don't know how much antibodies it takes. We don't know how long they last. So there's no data really to say when someone's had COVID, how long it lasts. Secondly, there's the variants. So, you know, nobody knows what these variants are going to do.
With the state's push for all schools to get back to in-person learning, De La Cruz didn't hesitate to get vaccinated and stood in this long line to get a shot.
I chose the vaccine so I can be available without any insecurities when I'm serving my students. I want to be totally engaged.
But not everyone feels the same way. A KCRA3 News investigation found many educators are choosing not to get vaccinated. We reached out to school districts across our area. Only 19 responded. Here's some of what those who did respond told us. The Lincoln School District in Stockton has about 1,300 employees. As of February 11th, only about half had chosen to get vaccinated. The Houston School District in Stanislaus County told us just over half, 55% of its 250 employees had said no to the shots. Not far away, the Riverbank School District told us only about half had opted to get vaccinated. That's concerning for healthcare experts like Dr. Shudong Feng of California North State University.
Unless there are some conditions, inhibiting them from being vaccinated, we strongly recommend all the teachers get a vaccine.
Tires are moving so slow you can see the tread. It is bumper to bumper in Oakland, but this isn't your typical Bay Area traffic jam. And these drivers, believe it or not, are right on schedule.
When the governor gave the order, the Coliseum turned into a mass vaccination site, one of the first two in the entire country, the testing ground for mass vaccination in the United States. And this is what you have.
An immense and systematically organized series of switchbacks, all designed to move thousands of cars an hour through the parking lot.
An investigation where 20 billion and counting. That's how much money California's lost in fraudulent unemployment payments.
Yeah, this is one of the worst cases of fraud in American history. So how did it get so bad? For the last 22 months, almost 2 years now, KCRA3 has been investigating failures at the Employment Development Department. Our team has been traveling across the country to get the full picture of just how this happened. And we've created a documentary we're calling Easy Money.
Welcome to the Employment Development Department. We are currently receiving more calls than we can.
Large EDD fraud, bounced EDD checks, verification problem, rampant fraud.
Another issue. EDD.
It's the biggest fraud in American history.
Some houses got 70 cards sent to them.
Just a cascade of errors on top of errors.
It was Minnie Mouse making a claim, or Poopy Britches.
Debit cards lacked anti-fraud chip technology.
Cops from New York are saying, oh yeah, they're all coming to California to do this because it was so easy.
Any idea how much money taxpayers have lost due to some of these fraudulent claims?
No, that's not something that we track.
They either have this information or they don't. If they have it, disgorge it right now. If they don't, shame on them for not having the technology, the ability, and the expertise to find out the answers to our questions.
People should have been held accountable. And in my mind, no one has been held accountable still. This is white-collar crime. It's easy money.
Hello. This is an NCIC operator calling from El Dorado County, Placerville Jail.
Hi, babe.
Hi.
How's everything going?
One of our colleagues from the North State, one of the elected DAs from Lassen County, had sent an email to kind of a listserv that we have asking if anybody has started seeing EDD fraud within the prison system.
I guess that money will have to sit in the account for a while. Just keep filling up. Like I tell Lori to check it again, see if I'm eligible for any more weeks.
The amount of fraud that we found was astronomical.
First it was, as I said, state prison inmates, then it was jail inmates, and increasingly over time we're learning here in El Dorado County, literally half of the inmates in the jail were collecting unemployment benefits.
Zach was just a beautiful soul. He loved life.
Tonight, in a KCRA3 special report, families experiencing unimaginable tragedy.
And that's all gone.
Kids dying from fentanyl poisoning, but this is not an addiction issue. These deaths are accidental.
It's a fake pill. It doesn't contain anything that they think it does.
It's an issue now in the national spotlight, hitting home for a Placer County family. Drugs easily found on social media sites. Kids unaware they're buying a deadly dose of a powerful narcotic.
This is an important message to get out. This is a big game changer.
Tonight, the warning all parents need to see, the discussions with your kids that must take place, and why the COVID-19 pandemic is making the tragic trend even worse. Laura and Chris didn't know it, but on a couple of occasions, Zach had experimented with prescription drugs, the same medications millions of people use for pain management every day. Zach thought he was buying Percocet, but what he got instead was a counterfeit pill made of fentanyl, a powerful prescription painkiller that is 50 times stronger than morphine.
It's a fake pill. It doesn't contain anything that they think it does. Zach did not want to buy fentanyl. But that's what happened.
Days later, and still without all the answers, Chris and Laura buried their youngest child at St. Mary's Cemetery in Sacramento.
If you're a parent, I'm sure you can imagine it. I'm sure you've worried about it. We pray that you will never have to experience it.
The Didier family is haunted not only by the fake pills, but by the way Zach got them. He didn't slip down a dark and seedy alley. He just opened Snapchat, the same phone app your kids probably have, the one with all those silly camera filters.
We're already hearing from some of you on Facebook who say that you're planning to talk to your kids about this, and if nothing else comes out of it, we're glad that that at least will. So thank you for watching tonight, and have a good night.
A massive storm hits Northern California.
Look at that area of yellow and orange. So that's periods of heavy rain.
And KCRA3 was there preparing you before it hit.
Shore up your fence by taking a couple of 2x4s.
Showing you the damage left behind.
It seemed like World War III out there.
Down trees, power outages, down fences.
And how it will impact your day.
Some issues still on northbound 99.
When severe weather threatens.
The wind is whipping. We have seen some fires break out tonight.
Trust KCRA3 to keep you prepared and informed.
This may be a pattern we see throughout the day with a lot of areas getting rain, but everybody's forecast is going to be a little bit different. For more on what we can expect later on today, let's go over to Eileen.
Yeah, we are going to see that rain intensify likely as we get into the afternoon and evening for quite a few of us. Again, it is a weather alert day with street flooding a likelihood because we're already actually seeing some of that now. In a few spots, there's standing water. And of course, when the wind really picks up over the next several hours, we could start to see some downed trees and power outages.
I'm exactly at Winding Way, right between College Oak Drive and Walnut Avenue. And you can see this is Arcade Creek. I want to show you. Look at how high this is. This is more than 75 feet of water, according to a Sacramento County official. This just happened in a couple of hours.
It's definitely snowing steadily here in Colfax. And just to give you a sense of our elevation, we're at 2,100 feet. Where I'm standing right now. And this part of Interstate 80, you can see some cars going in the eastbound direction.
We want to remind you that chains are also really important to have on the roads tonight, especially the interstate. You can see a vehicle here that has actually stalled.
All week, we've been hearing from people frustrated with PG&E's timeline of getting power restored. The utility estimates it won't have power restored to some homes until 2 weeks after that storm hits.
And customers are now demanding some answers about whether PG&E was even prepared for this storm. KCRA3 Investigates Brittany Johnson asked this question and more to the utility company. She joins us now from the newsroom with what she found out. Brittany.
That's right. PG&E says it was prepared for the snowstorm and plans were in place to act, but some of the severe snow is preventing them from gaining access to their equipment. Live Copter 3 flew over some of the damage today that they're talking about, and this is a view you will only see here on KCRA 3. We saw some downed trees near power lines north of Georgetown. Now, PG&E says what you're seeing here is what is blocking access to the roads. Now, we also saw crews assessing the damage from the air.
Now, the issues facing California.
Homelessness, the economy, serious climate change challenges,
the candidates.
The politicians are mucking it up.
This crisis exceeds the current governor's ability to deal with it.
We shouldn't have career politicians in politics.
I think the most important job of our next governor is to make it less important who the governor is.
Tonight, information voters across California need to make informed decisions. Live from California's capital, KCRA and the San Francisco Chronicle present the California Recall Debate.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Gulston Dart. Right now, voters across California are deciding two questions. First, should Governor Gavin Newsom be recalled? And second, if he is recalled, who should replace him? Which is why we are here tonight. We invited Governor Newsom and 6 leading candidates looking to replace him. The governor's campaign said that he's not taking part in debates. Larry Elder and Caitlyn Jenner said that they will only debate the governor. Well, tonight, we're joined by 4 candidates who did accept.
Let's get to our first questions. We did ask people all over California to submit questions. We had well over 400 questions come in. We won't ask all of them, but no surprise, one of the top things people want to talk about is something that affects every single person on the planet, everybody in this room right now, and that is coronavirus.
Well, candidates made a lot of claims about vaccine mandates, COVID-19 electability, and other topics. Some misleading, others just not true. Tonight, we start early on in the debate when Republican California Assembly member Kevin Kiley took on the state's vaccine mandates.
I saw a commercial from Gavin Newsom against the recall, and he had this dire warning that if the recall succeeds, then these mandates are going to go away and COVID's going to spread, which was kind of an odd thing to say because the mandates didn't exist until a week or 2 ago. We're the only state that has them, and they haven't even gone into effect yet.
Let's get the facts. California was the first state to announce a mandate for state workers and healthcare workers, but New York and Washington have also announced statewide mandates. California state workers are required to either get tested regularly or be vaccinated, and those mandates for health workers and teachers have fall deadlines.
Now to a Sacramento exclusive. In her first political interview with a Northern California TV journalist, Caitlyn Jenner invited KCRA3's Edie Lambert to her home in Malibu to talk about the campaign and the upcoming state's recall election.
The question that I think we hear the most often about your candidacy, and that is whether it is a publicity stunt.
It certainly is not a publicity stunt. I've never done anything really just for publicity.
She's working to prove that by focusing on issues including the governor's COVID response and restrictions that shut down schools for a year.
Parents, mothers especially, are devastated about what has happened. These kids have lost a year of education.
And some questions have been raised now about mail-in ballot security ahead of the recall election. KCRA3 has received numerous calls and emails about this. Viewers asking us about the holes in their ballot envelope and that it could be exposing their vote. Now, let me show you just one example. Now, what I'm holding here in my hand, this is an official ballot and envelope from Placer County. Okay, so now watch. Now, as you put this in, if you put it in just the right way or the wrong way, you can actually see. Look, I'll show you right there. Take a look right there where my finger is. You can see that the no bubble has been left blank. So if the no bubble's blank, then you can probably figure out the way this person would have voted. So the most obvious way to prevent that is by making sure that you put your ballot in the envelope in such a way so as you don't expose that bubble. But again, make sure you need to be conscious of this as you're doing it and before you seal that envelope.
Take a good look at these Sacramento County voter registration cards. This one, addressed to Ben K. Legit, says the voter was registered in June to the Common Sense Party. And this one, addressed to Rick C. Clutch, also in June, but with no party affiliation. The thing is, the person who lives at the address has no idea who either of these people are. We're blurring the address to protect the identity of the real homeowners who wanted to remain anonymous, but said in an email to KCRA while sharing these photos, quote, "My wife and I are registered to vote and have lived here for 5 years. We are worried about our security and California elections fraud. Please look into this for us." We did, and we took their concerns directly to the county spokeswoman for registration and elections, Jana Haynes.
It's possible that one of those people did live there at some point and have since become inactive.
We begin with the fate of Governor Newsom in the hands of California voters today. They will decide if he should keep his job. Just about 3.5 hours to go until voting centers across the state will close. Millions of people have already cast their ballots, and now the countdown is on for others to get their ballots in, whether they're voting in person or dropping off a ballot at a vote center or putting it in the mail.
Continue our live team coverage for you with our crews across our area. Let's begin with KCRA3's Brandy Cummings, live at the Secretary of State's office in Sacramento. Brandy.
Good afternoon, Lisa. Brian. You know, while much of the focus right now is really on the registrar's offices across the 58 counties here in California, tonight we are here with Dr. Shirley Weber. Her staff and her team, after the vote centers close tonight, will ultimately be compiling that data that has been collected across the state. Dr. Weber, thank you for doing this interview with us. And let's first start with, what are you hearing across the state right now? Any problems, anything that's come to your office already?
We've heard minor things, but nothing that has actually stopped anyone from voting or deterred anyone from going to the polls. So the good thing is, the objective is to get people to vote. When you're dealing with any kind of technology and, you know, things that happen, processes change, those kinds of things. So we have that, and we have a hotline up and down the state basically to address most of those issues, and they are. But we haven't had anything to stop the election to really become a major glitch so that people are being disenfranchised.
This is KCRA3 News at 11.
I'm humbled and grateful to the millions and millions of Californians that exercised their fundamental right to vote and express themselves so overwhelmingly.
Governor Gavin Newsom tonight declaring victory after both NBC News and the Associated Press projected the effort to recall him failed by a large margin.
sexual harassment accusations against the Sacramento Fire Department. This is a story KCRA3 Investigates Brittany Johnson has been looking into for months. And tonight she exclusively spoke with the fire chief and other firefighters who've been coming forward to share their stories.
It was lonely. It was a lonely experience.
Shannon Panamino, a firefighter and paramedic with the Sacramento Fire Department for 17 years, retiring in 2017. Panamino says hazing and discrimination were part of the SFD culture.
He was a big jokester, but he liked to do things like he would put adult sex toys in my bed. He would put high school pictures of himself in my bed. He put adult sex toys in my boots, in my turnout coat. At the dinner table, he liked to provoke conversations. Like if we were going to make a Sacramento City Fire Department calendar of all the females, what month would Shannon be? And singled me out that way.
Captain James Butler has been with the department for 26 years. For him, the issue was the lack of diversity in gender and in race. Part of multiple committees, recruiting teams, and hiring boards, Butler says he's done everything he can do to add diversity to staff.
I've done everything within the system to try and bring about change, and nothing's happened.
A 2016 audit found 71% of the fire department was white, 11% Hispanic, 2% Filipino, 4% Black, 5% Asian, and 2% American Indian. At the same time, only 10% fire personnel were female.
KCRA3 investigation into the Sacramento Fire Department. Earlier this month, we introduced you to firefighters who say they faced gender discrimination and shed a light on the department's lack of diversity. In 2016, the department came up with a plan of action to make the department better reflect the city it serves.
As KCRA3 Investigates Brittany Johnson found out, the plan never made it to the city council, even though the council repeatedly expressed its desires to help improve the department.
After a series of complaints from former and current fire department personnel, the Sacramento Fire Department created a diversity advisory board to draw up plans to address the lack of gender and ethnicity diversity among its ranks. That plan was to be placed in the hands of the city council to take action. At the time, the city council made it very clear they weren't happy with the makeup of the fire department and wanted to see change, asking then Chief Walt White to come up with a budget and programs that could be implemented to help Sacramento Fire reflect the city it serves.
What I heard this council say was a mandate on diversification.
In May 2016, the city council asked for a city audit focusing on police and fire departments.
Good evening.
KCRA3 Investigates listened to every city council meeting after the audit request to follow the process and find out what happened to the audit and those recommendations from the Sacramento City Fire Department. We wanted to hear what happened in Omar Amin's words, but because of the case pending against him and because he contracted COVID-19, he is in solitary confinement. But we were able to exchange letters with the help of his translator.
I met my defense attorneys who told me the details of the case. I realized that the case had been fabricated and all the events in it were lies on top of lies. I left Iraq in 2012 and stayed in Turkey, in Mersin. I never left Turkey.
Mersin, Turkey is a resort town far removed from the violence in Iraq's Al-Anbar province. Amin applied for refugee status there, but eventually the refugee agency decided to place him in the United States. Getting into the U.S. as a refugee takes a long time and a lot of vetting, but Amin was cleared to move to the U.S. And by November of 2014, just 5 months after the death of Ihsan Jassim, Omar Amin was living in Utah.
I've always felt I belonged to this country more than my home country. I never felt I was in a strange place. My own friends and relatives turned their backs on me, but the kind people of this country stood by me and my family.
He took pictures of his new country, posing in front of the trees on his first Christmas in America. By 2016, he had moved to Sacramento and was working as an auto mechanic. Going to the mountains and sledding with his kids. And then came that day in 2018 when the FBI knocked on his door.
That day will always be with me, disturbing me and torturing me. I got up out of bed and the whole apartment was shaking from the intensity of the knocking on the door. I opened the door to find an FBI agent carrying weapons, saying there was an arrest warrant for me from the Iraqi government for killing a police officer.
At his initial hearings, the U.S. government wanted Amin extradited immediately, saying this was an Iraqi case, not one for the U.S. courts. But Amin insisted he was in Turkey when the killing happened, and his defense attorneys wanted a chance to prove it.
When he told us, well, I was in Turkey the whole time, we knew we really had a lot of work to do to figure out what was happening.
Good evening. Welcome. I'm Golston Dark.
And I'm Stephanie Lynn. Tonight, Project Community Asian in California shines a light on the impact Asian Americans have had on the state's culture, economy, and diversity.
Yeah, while the nation saw a surge in reported anti-Asian violence during the pandemic, acts of hate against the Asian community are not new. One such incident happened nearly 40 years ago in the city of Davis.
Yeah, we start tonight by taking a look back in time at the killing of a local Vietnamese student and the conversation happening today to fight back against hate. Fast forward 38 years later, we sat down with 3 current Davis High students on what it's like to be Asian American today.
Growing up, you face so many microaggressions. I've spent like my entire life trying to convince my classmates I'm not going to eat their dogs, I'm not going to eat their scorpions.
I've been told that I can't drive properly and I am meant to go back to my country, which I was born in America, so that really hurts being told that.
The girls told me they see Davis as a safe community, but they continue to feel the sting of racism.
With the recent Asian American hate crimes, it was kind of like a huge reminder for me that like a lot of people in this country don't see you as American. Like I was born here, I think I'm very American, but there are people that just see you as a foreigner.
After Huen's death, the school started an initiative called Friendship Day. Students meet every week over various activities aimed at building empathy and inclusivity on campus. Riley and Sarah are members.
By really kind of getting to know one another, we learn that there's a lot more that unites us than separates us.
Northern California's most trusted news team now brings you news in Spanish straight to your phone. We're keeping the Hispanic community connected with customized alerts. Now you can receive notifications for news stories that are relevant to our Hispanic community, straight to the point and in your language.
Cuando las condiciones del estado del tiempo son peligrosas, como cuando hay neblina.
Get the latest local news directly to your phone in Spanish. Find the Noticias tab on the KCRA3 News app now.
De mi abuela, yo era su favorita, siempre decían, porque te pusieron María, como ella, ¿no?
Altares, papel picado, cempasúchil y la foto de un ser querido.
Son memorias que uno tiene de ellos.
Así es como la comunidad latina e hispana le rinde homenaje a sus muertos el 2 de noviembre.
Mi hermano que murió a los 20 años, ¿no? Pero esa foto es la que más me pega, ¿no? Me toca el corazón.
This Saturday, celebrate food and family.
I'm proud of what we've built.
Celebrate tradition and determination.
We were alive and we were fighting for our human rights.
Celebrate culture and heritage.
We girls can rock the hat.
Project Community, celebrating Hispanic heritage.
Be proud of your heritage and be proud of who you are.
We're not perfect, but we're very blended.
Saturday at 7 p.m. on KCRA3.
Mi corazón está por tu amor.
And seeing an all-girls mariachi band is empowering the Hispanic community.
I think they can see that everything is possible. And if they are in love with music and they can play an instrument and this is the genre that they choose to do, why not?
This week, KCRA3 and Vitalant teaming up for the annual Blood Drive for Life. This year, it's 4 days instead of the usual 2 to make sure everybody can donate while staying safe. KCRA3's Brittany Johnson is in Sacramento this morning with more on how you can help out. Good morning.
Good morning. Guess what? No surprise here. Our community really stepped up here, and all of the spots to come in and give donations for blood are all filled up, but the need to donate is still great.
Leah, thanks for dropping off some turkeys. And for you, how does it make you feel to give back like this?
You know, we've come year after year, and it's like a well-oiled machine, and it's really easy to just come in, drop it off, and be on your way. And, you know, it makes you feel good, and you just want to share.
Our final tally today, 15,813 turkeys. So thank you to all the viewers who came out and all the businesses and corporate sponsors who make it possible.
welcome back to the start line where we are getting ready for our 5K, and look at that. Wow. Okay, this is feeling like, you know, the before times again.
3, 2, 1, go!
It's the 15th annual Chips for Kids toy drive. We're out here till 7 o'clock. The toys keep coming. I said, as you can look behind me, I mean, we've got some wide variety of toys. And hey, one thing we do want to say is if you're having trouble thinking about maybe the bigger kids, the older kids, here's some cool ideas right here. We got a fishing pole.
Got a drone.
A drone. This is pretty cool. I thought these were really cool. And then it's almost like a GoPro. Isn't that neat?
And Lisa had a good idea with the
absolutely
flattening irons and curling irons and hair dryers and that kind of thing for the older girls.
We just want to take a moment now to thank you for your extreme generosity in our annual Chips for Kids toy drive yesterday. Thanks to you, we collected more than 7,000 toys. This is amazing. These toys will benefit kids and teens in our community. They're going to be passed out just in time for Christmas. And of course, we received a lot of bikes. What an amazing event, and even the fog didn't keep families from coming out to donate. Again, thank you.